Hi Tony. Yesterday, our atheist female living in sin Prime Minister, who is obsessed with moving forward, said that she's against same-sex marriage because it's against our culture and our heritage, which she then explained is based on the Bible. WTF. Discuss.
Okay. Now, for anyone who doesn't know Josh, he's a bit of a celebrity himself on another network. And for those of the audience who don't know what WTF means, it translates as what the, and you'll have to fill in the F word for yourselves. But let's go to Christine Milne first.
Oh, look, I think the community has really changed dramatically on the issue of marriage equality, and the Greens are very strongly supporting it. I think it's time that the Parliament listened to what the community had to say, and I think actually it's not really very sensible to say I had a conservative upbringing and therefore I'm still where I was at the time I was 9 or 10 living at home in that environment. I think there is a time when, as an adult, you can review the values that you hold, and I am especially committed to making sure we get rid of discrimination in Australia, and I look forward to the day when we have marriage equality in this country.
So, does this sort of statement by Julia Gillard make it a little more difficult for you to be in bed with her, if I can put it that way?
Well, it certainly highlights the major difference between the Greens and the government, and I think what it demonstrates...
Do you think that's why she said it, to highlight major differences between the Greens and the government?
Well, I don't think so. I think she actually believes what she's saying in this circumstance, but I think she's wrong, and I think that on this particular issue, she is reflecting what she thinks is a conservative popular view, and it's not. She's actually misread the community completely.
Jason, Clare, let's hear from you on that.
Oh, it probably won't please Josh, but I think most Australians still think of marriage as between a man and a woman. I think what you can do is you can keep that, but you can still recognise the importance and the special nature of a same-sex relationship. I think you can do that.
The central allegation here against Julia Gillard is of hypocrisy, an atheist living in sin. I mean, that could also be construed as being against our culture and our heritage, couldn't it?
Well, look, Julia has conservative views on some things and progressive views on others. She's ultimately, and most people around this table know Julia and know her pretty well, she's a decent person, a smart person, somebody who understands that government's tough, but you've got to work at things to get things done. And whether it's on work choices, or whether it's on education, or whether it's what we're going to do on climate change, we're going to get things done.
Do you share her views on this? Because you are allowed a conscience...
Yeah. And I've said on a few occasions I support the Prime Minister's view, but the Labor Party will get a chance to debate this at the National Conference later this year.
Miranda Devine.
Well, I think that Julia Gillard's had to do this because she's belatedly realised that this sort of these images of her sitting alongside Bob Brown and Christine Milne has not gone down too well with Labor's socially conservative base. And so she needs to throw out a few little totems to them to say, look, I'm not a Green, you know, I haven't gone, you know, I'm not an extremist like they are. So that I think it's as cynical as that.
I think you're very nice.
Do you, essentially, you would agree with the position she's putting forward?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Well, endorsing discrimination is hardly what you would do just to create a point of difference. I wouldn't expect.
Let's hear Lachlan Harris on this. Once again, another thorny issue for the Labor Party. An interesting one because there will be a conference debate on this issue, and people will be, hopefully, I believe, allowed to vote on their conscience.
And I certainly hope that happens because my view is the Labor times have moved past the Labor Party on this one. I think that's just the reality. I think religious organisations have the luxury of being able to say tradition, you know, and they have the right to say that people can get married under these circumstances in our church. But in the end, you know, I just kept on thinking over and over again, I can't see how any way we can do this and not be discriminatory. And that's we just can't get around that.
Did you, just incidentally, did you make that argument inside the Prime Minister's office?
I was wondering how long one of those first questions like that would take. Look, there's a robust debate in the Labor Party on this issue, and I think there's probably a robust debate in most parties, you know what I mean, if you scratch the surface enough. And I think those debates have to be had. I'm no longer part of that show, so I'm not going to rake over the lost coals or the old coals of that one.